Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and hello if you're new here. I'm so glad that you have joined. It is time for my July reading wrap up. I never remember what month we were in, I had to really think about that then. It's time for my July reading wrap up. I actually managed to read 12 books in July, which I'm quite shocked about because I went away on holiday and I didn't read for like a week while I was away, and I still managed to somehow get through 12 books, which I think might be the most that I've read since January. So yeah, we did well. It was double the amount of books I read in May and June, I think. So yeah, we got through a lot. Did we get through books that were on my physical TBR that I was kind of planning to read? Not really. I kind of just went a bit rogue. I started a series that I've been trying to read for ages, and I don't know, I think I was just sitting here one night and I was just staring at book one and I was like, do you know what, I'm just gonna start this series. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made because it completely lived up to the expectations for me. It was so good. I will discuss that with you guys in a minute. It was an okay month. The series that I read was amazing. I read a couple of standalones that I've been like really looking forward to, and ones that have been sort of in and out my TBR all year, and then when I actually got around to it, they were kind of like 3.5-star reads, which 3.5 stars isn't the worst rating in the world, but I think to me it's like an average book that I'm never really going to think about again. And could I have had those potential hours of my life that I spent reading that book back to potentially put in something else? Yes, I could have. It also, I think I was in a bit of a dark romance reading slump, so I've completely changed up genres now for August and probably for the rest of the year, and I'm just going to start reading fantasy. And then also I read another book by one of my favourite authors, which was probably one of the biggest disappointments ever, and I have so much to say about that book, so let's get into it. In fact, let's start with that book because there's a lot I want to say. So I read Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings, and Jessa, as you know, is one of my favourite authors ever. The Magnolia Park series is my whole entire world. I love that series so much. I was so excited to read this. I cleared the entire TBR the minute this arrived because I think it only released within the last couple of weeks, and I was so excited for this. And this was a letdown for me on so many levels. Now, I rated this 3 stars. I think I just physically cannot give Jessa anything less than 3 stars because this is probably more like a 2.75. Now, I'm really sorry if you read this and you loved it. A bit of a background on the synopsis of the story, which, by the way, the tropes and the storyline loved. The execution, I just didn't. But basically this follows Joa and Isolde. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not 100% sure. And this is set in, is it 80s or the 90s? Or it's set 1995, here we go. So it's set in the 90s. And it's meant to be like, it's really like nostalgic, rock star kind of romance. She's a supermodel, he's a rock star, they fall in love, and it's just basically that kind of story. It's set in the same world as Magnolia Parks, just decades prior to the events of Magnolia Parks, and there are like tiny crossovers with a couple of characters. I wouldn't even say crossovers, I would say more like cameos, where some characters we know from the MPU world do appear in this. My biggest issue with this was, one, I know that Jessa Hastings' books are typically very dialogue heavy, like she's known for that, and that's what Magnolia Parks is like, and I'm okay with that. That is her writing style, but this was too much. Like, it was just too much speech. It just pages and pages and pages of speech, and I just didn't love it. Also, in terms of the dialogue as well, so Joa is Mancunian, I think that's how you say it. So obviously he has an accent, and she did this in Never with, what was his name in Never? I can't remember the guy's name. Jameson, that's it. She did it with Jameson in Never, where I think he was like Scottish or Irish or something, and she would write the accent out on page, so almost like phonetically spelt in, and that, I just cannot follow that. It gives me an absolute headache to read, and she did the same with Joa in this, and so it just, his POVs just was so infuriating to read. I'm not saying like he shouldn't have an accent, or I'm not even saying that she should just write the accent like normal, because obviously that's not realistic, but I've read so many books where I know that the characters have accents, like the Edge of Darkness trilogy. Well, I'm sure some of the characters in there are Scottish, but Lee Rivers doesn't write out like Scottish. I can't explain the way she does it, but you'll know what I mean if you've read this book or if you've read Never. Like, Lee Rivers doesn't write out the Scottish accent on page. You just kind of have to let your imagination fill in the gap if you can. And I don't mind that so much, but this, it's written out on page and it is so difficult to read that I was really struggling with it, and I think it made me dislike Joa. I mean, I don't like Joa anyway because obviously he's one of those rock stars where he's a bit problematic, he's quite troubled, and the way he treats Isolde in this, I literally cannot get on board with it. So it does have the cheating trope in it, which obviously, like, I've read books that have that trope in it. I don't have an issue with it, but the way they do it in this book, and the amount of times they do it and the way they treat each other, it was just so toxic. And I was like, I don't know, I needed so much more connection between Joa and Isolde for me to feel like the heartbreak of what they were doing to each other in this book. And a lot of people were saying it's very reminiscent of Magnolia and BJ, and I do agree with you there. However, I think that Magnolia and BJ are written so much better. There's so much more depth to their characters. There's so much more history. It's not an insta love scenario, because this, I kid you not, within 20 pages these two were in love, and they'd only met each other for like 10 days and they were like, I'm in love. And I know that Jessa Hastings writes a lot of insta love, but this was like next level. I did not buy into their relationship. I did not find any of the characters likable. Even the side characters I didn't really like or care for. It was such a letdown for me. I wrote a lot about this in my Goodreads review, so if you do want to read my full review, the link to my Goodreads will be in my bio, because I went on a rant. I just felt like her writing wasn't there. Prose wasn't really there for me. I mean, obviously we're book 1 in a series, and I would like to think that Joa can redeem himself because of the way he treats Isolde in this. I just like, I was not okay with it. I wasn't okay with the cheating in this. I also didn't feel the effects of the events of the book so much, because I didn't feel like I was connected to these characters in any way. I just thought this book was a little bit of a mess, and I don't know, it's just not her best work, and it really makes me sad to say that because I do love her. I just did not, even the writing in this for me was just not quite there compared to some of her other books. Like, The Conditions of Will was so much better. The Magnolia Park series is one of the best things I think she's ever written, but yeah, this wasn't there. I still will read the second book when it comes out because I would like to see where the story goes. I thought the ending, it sets it up quite well for the rest of the series. I'd love to see if Joa gets any character development. Also, like, Isolde to me was basically a copy and paste of Magnolia, except more infuriating and way more airheady and way more in love with herself. She's described as being like really down to earth and genuine, but actually I did not get that from her character at all. So I didn't find her overly likeable, didn't dislike her, just didn't find her overly likeable. Neither of these characters were, to be honest, and it just wasn't my favourite. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I think that's just because I have like a fear of giving Jessa anything less than 3 stars because I love her. So I also read Lessons in Corruption, and this is by Gianna Darling. Now this is a book that I've had on my TBR for so long. It's book 1 in the Fallen Men series. It's a very long series. I think there's 8 books in it. I do have this one in book 2, which is Welcome to the Dark Side, which I had planned on going straight into, but I didn't love this book as much as I thought I would, so I just thought I would come back to that at a different time. This is a teacher-student motorcycle club romance. So we've got like forbidden love, taboo, age gap, that kind of stuff. And I really liked the world and the setting of like the whole motorcycle club and the town that they're in. And I could really picture it, and I really enjoyed it. I've read a lot of Gianna Darling books now, and I felt like her writing in this was nowhere near as good as like The Moon and His Tides, Serpentine Valentine, The Sun and Her Burn. Like, I did not feel like the writing in this was up there, but obviously this is older work from her. So her writing now for sure has come on so much and is so much better. Again, it was insta love, and I cannot stand that. I want tension. I want like, not even necessarily a slow burn, but I'd like to watch the characters' relationships develop on page. I like there to be yearning. I like there to be a bit of angst. I don't like it when they meet each other, because in this book she literally sees him across the car park. I can't remember their names, okay? That's how you know when I didn't enjoy a book that much, when I can't remember the main characters' names. She sees him across the car park, bearing in mind I think he's like 18 or 19 years old and she's a teacher and she's older, and she's literally like goes home and then decides to leave her husband, like not for him, but because she realizes that there's just so much more out there for her, and basically says that she falls in love with him from across the car park. And then later on in the book he says that he saw her staring across the car park and that he basically fell in love with her there and then as well. And I was just like, that is so unrealistic. But in terms of like the motorcycle club elements, and they're like taking her to all these bars, the found family in the MC club, like him taking her out on his bike and they're like going around all these winding roads and the wind is in her hair and all that stuff. I kind of love those micro tropes in an MC romance, so you do get a lot of that in here. I did really enjoy it. It is a little bit spicy, but not that bad, and it was just okay. It wasn't gripping, and it wasn't a game changer, let's put it that way, but it was really fun, and I do think I'm going to continue the series because I've heard really, really good things about it, and I really liked the motorcycle club vibe. For a teacher-student romance, if you're going to pick this up because you like that trope and you think this is going to give you everything you want from that, I think it's probably one of the worst forbidden like teacher-student romances I've read in terms of that element to it. I didn't think it was that good. It definitely could have been way more tense and a little bit spicier, but it wasn't the worst book in the world. I think I may have given it like 3.5 stars. It's just not my favourite Gianna Darling book, but it wasn't bad either. It just did a job for me at the time when I read it. Now next up, let's get into the series that I decided to read on a whim, and that was actually because I'm pretty sure I started this after Lessons in Corruption, and I read the Hades series by Tate James, and this was so good. So if you didn't know, the Madison Kate series is one of my all-time favourite series ever. I read it like 3 years ago. I'm obsessed with it. I still think about it to this day. I thought it was just so fun, so addictive, and yeah, I just love it. I love the characters. It is why I choose. And then the Hades series is set in the same world, which is Shadow Grove, and it follows characters that you meet, and there are crossovers. You don't have to read Madison Kate before Hades, but knowing what I know now, I would definitely, if you haven't read anything from her, definitely start with Madison Kate and then go into this if you can. I think you would have a better reading experience because you'd understand things a lot more. It follows this woman called Hades. Well, her name is Hayden, but her sort of like persona is Hades. She's 23 years old, and she is the leader of like this gang, like organised crime syndicate. It's not necessarily mafia romance, but it's very similar. It's like organised crime, and she is the head of the Tri-State Timberwolves. So she basically owns a lot of Shadow Grove, and all the other gangs in Shadow Grove kind of like report back to her. Like, she is super badass. Like, her character, she's one of my favourite FMCs ever. She's so fiery. She knows what she wants. She doesn't back down. She's literally a woman in a world like full of men, and they all fear her. Like, she was such a great character. I adored her. It is also a why choose, but what I will say is, yeah, it's why choose, but that does not like push the plot. The plot is what's going on in Shadow Grove, and the fact that basically she thought she had unalived her ex-fiance. She thought he was dead. She thought he was long gone, and then she kills his family. She massacres her own family because they betray her, and then she basically rises up into power. And then she starts getting all these weird things keep happening to her. These notes being left around. The only person that would know these things were her ex-fiance, who she was, as far as she was aware, she had killed him. Turns out he wasn't really dead. He was in hiding for the last 5 years, and he's come back for revenge. It's just about Hades and her 3 men and just trying to like fight back against him basically and win. And the plot in this, again, it is super addictive. It's such a page turner. Every single book ends on a cliffhanger. I also liked watching the relationships develop between her and all of the characters. Like, one of them is like an enemies to lovers kind of scenario. Another one is like an age gap scenario, like her and Lucas. The other romance plot in it is like a childhood friends to lovers as well. Yeah, I just really, really loved this. I thought it was so addictive. And is it a literary masterpiece? No, I don't think Madison Kate series is either, but I'm telling you now, you cannot put these series down. Like, the plots are so good and they're so gripping, and there's just so much that happens, so many plot twists, so many things that just come out of the blue that you didn't see happening. Then there's a cliffhanger, you have to start the next book. I just absolutely loved it. And the first book, Seventh Circle, I gave 4 stars. Then I gave Anarchy, I also gave this 4 stars. Club 22, which is my favourite book in the series, I gave 4.5 stars. And then Timber, which is the last book in the series, I also gave 4.5 stars. I thought this was so good. So action-packed. That's the best way I can describe this series. Extremely action-packed. I didn't realise that actually the books are named after the clubs that she runs in Shadow Grove, like Seventh Circle, Club 22. But yeah, also there's good crossover between the Madison Kate characters and this series, and Hades' sister, Seth, is Madison Kate's best friend. And yeah, so if you like that series, I really recommend it. I can't believe I was sitting on this for like 3 years. Then after that, I went and read the novella for the Madison Kate series, because you have to read Vault after Hades because it will spoil things that happen in the Hades series for you. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. I thought I was gonna love it because I was back with Madison and Cody and Archer and Max Steel. Like, they're some of my favourite characters ever. The storyline was so random, and I know it's a novella, but when I tell you that the plot actually started maybe like here, this far into the book, after all of these pages in this novella of basically nothing. and then it was wrapped up in like 20 pages. And I don't think it had any relevance to anything, unless it has relevance to the Guild series, which you read after this, which also gets spoken about a lot in the Hades series, and I cannot wait to read it. It's like Honey Trap, Kill Order, and something else. I have those books. I definitely need to read them because I just love Tate James. But yeah, this was just so random that I just didn't see that. I don't know whether the storyline in this is something that's necessary to other series that she has set in this world, or whether she just thought that would be a fun plot to write because it was super random and really weird. And it is like really spicy, like just super, 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 super spicy. Do you need to read it? No, you definitely could skip it, but I still read it. I just gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It was alright, it was a fun time. I just enjoyed Max Steel again because he was my favourite MMC in that series. Love him. Also reminded me how much I still hate Archer. I never liked him in the series when I first read it 3 years ago, and it reminded me exactly how much I don't like him now. I don't know what she sees in him. I don't know what Madison Kate sees in him, I'm telling you that. Okay, next I read 2 books which I've actually been meaning to read for a very long time now. So let's get into my favourite one. I tried a new author this month. I read 2 books by her, and I'm definitely going to buy some more books in her backlist because I really enjoyed her. So I read Midnight Stage by Sheridan Ann. It is a dark rockstar romance. Now do not be fooled with this book, okay? Because I was reading this, I was like 70% of the way in, and I could not for the life of me understand why this was called a dark rockstar romance. And then that storyline hit, and it is super dark. So just be aware there is a subplot in here that is extremely dark. So check your trigger warnings because it's heavy. It is heavy, and it doesn't really kick in till quite late on in the book. This I gave 4.75 stars. This is one of the best rockstar romances I have ever read. I've said it before, I'll say it again. With a rockstar romance, I hate it when the author writes them and she just makes them a rock star, and then that's it. But then they're just a rock star and then she writes a romance. I need a rockstar romance where they're touring, they're going on set, they're writing songs, they have a muse, and they go to the next city and then the next city, and then something happens and then they're on stage and we get to see them on stage, like on page in the book. They are the kind of rockstar romances that I love, and this delivered on that and then some. This follows Ezra Knight and Rayleigh. We call her Ray. We call her Ray in the book. And Ezra is Ray's brother's best friend. So you've got the brother's best friend trope in this, but the brother was always on board with their relationship, so it doesn't really bring that kind of tension to it, but you do have that trope. Basically, her brother ends up becoming a famous rock band. Like, you get to see flashbacks between past and present of when they literally started up in their garage, and Ray was there from the beginning, helped them start up, helped them get their flyers out there, and they became this huge rock band. They get signed when she's really young, and they move away and they leave her. And something happens to Ray while they leave her, and she feels like she can never really forgive them. And whilst they're starting this rock band, her and Ezra have this whole thing going on. But when they first meet, she's super young, so they kind of have this like unrequited love that goes on for years until she turns 16, and then they kind of admit their feelings for each other. And then fast forward now, they're in their early 20s, they've gone off on this huge world tour. Ray is trying to deal with the stuff that happens to her behind closed doors, and she's just angry at them for leaving her behind because they won't take her with them because she's so much younger than them. They're like, you need to stay, you need to finish school, you need to go to college, and she just can never forgive them for leaving her behind, and obviously can't forgive Ezra for leaving her behind because they were like in love with each other. It is also a second chance rockstar romance as well, because then Ray gets given a job and she has to go on tour with them, and so obviously something tragic happens in this book, which almost made me cry. It actually almost made me cry. That's how invested I was in this book. Something tragic happens in this book. She gets given a job, goes on tour with them, and it's all about dealing with the trauma of what happened. There's a really good family trope in it. There's a second chance romance between her and Ezra. It's about them discussing like what it was that went so wrong between them all those years ago, and also dealing with what happened in present day. And it's just so good. I absolutely loved it. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is literally because that dark storyline that I was talking about, I really don't feel like this book needed it. But like the story and the second chance romance itself was more than enough in this book to carry it. I was giving this 5 stars up until that plot line dropped in, and it was very heavy. Difficult one to talk about because people genuinely go through that, and so she didn't do anything wrong by adding it in. I just thought that the book and the characters and the plot already was just so strong. I don't know if it needed that, and yeah, so that's why I gave it 4.75 stars, but I still really recommend it if you like a rockstar romance. I think this is so severely underrated, and everybody needs to read it. Then I was on a bit of a Sheridan Anne hype, so I do actually also have one other book by her called Haunted Love, which I do plan to then probably read quite soon. I think that's like a step-sibling romance. But this is Pretty Monster by Sheridan Anne, and this is a dark stalker romance. Now, what I will say is, the writing in this it's not like, it honestly feels like two different authors wrote these books. Not in a bad way, but this writing was like so beautiful. And in this, not so much. A little bit more basic, a little just a bit more like average. This is a stalker romance and it was good. I gave it 3 stars. I think I gave it 3 stars because basically this follows this girl and she's got a stalker, but she also has all these love interests at the same time. So she lives in this apartment complex and she also works at a tattoo shop. And the guy that owns a tattoo shop is like a father figure for her. And then one of her colleagues in there, they had this thing, like sometimes they sleep together, sometimes they don't. It's been going backwards and forwards between them for ages. Kaya thinks that eventually one day her and this guy that works at tattoo shops will just end up together. Alongside that, we also have this motorcycle club element where this MC gang always come into the tattoo shop to get tattooed. And there's also a guy in the MC gang called Viper who is like super in love with Kaya as well. And then we've got her neighbour. And her neighbour lives opposite her. They bump into each other one day and then he becomes super obsessed with her. So she has like 3 love interests in a very short space of time. And even though Kaya's like fun and she's great, she's not that special, where I just don't understand why all these men are like lusting over her. But that being said, she's got 3 love interests and she's a bit of a promiscuous girl. Like, she has got no ties or whatever. She just does what she wants when she wants. And she is not stringing them along, but she's just seeing all 3 men, and they are jealous of each other because they all know about each other. Anyway, as it so happens, she also has a stalker. Now, she is one of those girls that, you know, when you like watch a horror film and you're like, and the main character just does the most stupid things and you're like, no wonder you died in the end. That's kind of what she reminds me of in this. There are so many red flags that she just completely ignores, to the point where her stalker is literally in her room one night and he's watching her do her thing. Okay, if you get where I'm going with that. And then she realises he's there, and then she's like, why don't you just watch me? And she has like no fear, but obviously she has like a fear kink, I suppose. But regardless, it was just super weird. It was just, you have to suspend your belief a lot with this stalker romance. What I will say is, if you like a stalker romance where they stalk throughout the whole entirety of the book, then this will give that to you. Like, there's no finding out who it is 20% in. There's no falling in love 30% of the way in. It is a stalker romance through and through, and it's not a bad one. And then also her love interests start dropping like flies because somebody's unaliving them and we don't know who it is. Bet you can guess where I'm going with this. And then you find out who her stalker is, and it is supposed to be a bit of a plot twist, but I saw it coming a mile away. That being said, it was fun. It was like a bit of almost like a dark romance palette cleanser, because when you're in her stalker, he's called Reed, when you're in his POV, very tongue-in-cheek, very dark humour, kind of funny. Reminds me a bit like Butcher and Blackbird or Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, like that kind of vibe in terms of the humour. Kind of reminded me like that when you were in Reed's point of view. So yeah, it was fun, but it just wasn't the best thing I've ever read. So yeah, I just gave that 3 stars. I also read, well, I actually half read and half listened to this on audio, but it is What Lies Between Us by John Mars. I don't know how this happened. I really don't know why I started this book or what led me to start this book, and especially like listen to it on audio as well. I think I just wanted something different. So this is obviously a psychological thriller, and I have had this on my TBR for so long. Now, what I will say is, I think if I'd have read this just physically, I wouldn't have liked it as much as if I read it on audio as well, because the narrators and the voice acting was absolutely phenomenal on the audiobook. Like, my jaw would drop at multiple points. Like, the way that they bring the story to life, they did such a good job. Now, this basically follows Maggie and Nina, and Maggie is Nina, so Maggie's Nina's mum. And in the first couple of chapters of the book, they're just having dinner together and you think that everything's fine. And then you get to this point at the end of one of the chapters where you find out that Maggie is Nina's, like, has been kidnapped by Nina. She's Nina's captive. So you're wondering how on earth these two, like this mother and daughter, get to this point where she's keeping her mum captive in her house. And then you get all of these flashbacks all the way back to when Nina was like 14 years old. She was a very difficult child, very problematic. Like, her mum did a lot of things wrong at that time whilst raising her. They have a lot of resentment towards each other, and you just unfolds this like really tragic story of how they ended up in this present day position where Maggie's literally attached to a chain in the attic of the house, and Nina can't let go of her basically. It's super toxic, it's kind of sad as well, and it's also about like a mother's love and how far your mum would go to protect you, but maybe not always at your best interest, like anyone's best interest at heart in the scenario that they're in. There's a lot that happens. I don't want to explain it too much because I don't want to ruin it, but it was quite shocking. It got a little bit boring for me in the middle, but I think John Marrs does a really good job at you never know who the villain in this story is. One minute you're thinking it's Nina, the next minute you think it's Maggie, but then something else comes to light in the story and then you think it's Nina again, then something else happens and you don't like Maggie anymore and you think she deserves it. Well, nobody deserves what Maggie was going through, but John Marrs does a really good job at making you try to guess who you feel like is in the wrong here, who deserved this, who's in the wrong. It's a really good thriller. It's one of those like domestic thrillers. They're not always my favourite, but this one was quite good. The ending was so frustrating. I hate endings like the one that was in this because it was kind of an open door ending. You don't really know what happens. Obviously I'm not going to get into it too much because it will spoil things. But I think I ended up giving this I actually gave this 4 stars, 3.75 4 stars. It was good, but I do think that is because I listened to it on audio as well, and the audiobook was really, really good for this. So yeah, my first psychological thriller of the year. I don't think I've read one yet. And I do really enjoy them. It makes you realise how bingeable they are. Like, they are so, so fun. Then the last 2 books that I read last month, and I saved these for last because I kind of talked about these a little bit in my last reading wrap up, but I finished the Monster Trilogy by Rena Kent. So this is book 2 and 3. And this is Kirill and Sasha's story. This is a mafia romance. Well, it's like mafia, military, dark romance. And obviously in this book, Sasha is hiding her identity. She's pretending to be a man to get into the military. And Kirill was like her sergeant. I don't even know what the terminology is. But anyway, he's part of the Russian mafia. She gets into his like inner circle, and then they go back to Russia, and she manages to go back to Russia. This whole entire time, Kirill knows that she's lying about who she really is, but he wants to figure out why she felt the need to infiltrate his inner circle. And in the meantime, Sasha's trying to figure out who was responsible for her family's death. There are a lot of twists and turns in this. I think this is one of my favourite mafia romance series by Rena Kent. I think I gave the second book 4 stars and the last book 3.5 stars. The last book was actually my least favourite, and I preferred book 1 and 2 the most. Kirill Morozov as well is probably one of my favourite Rena Kent MMCs. I like him way more than Adrian, because Adrian was just like, he terrified me. I didn't like him. Kirill's scary, but like not in the same way as Adrian. In a kind of sexy way, I think. This is my favourite mafia romance by her. Rena Kent is such a like 3.5 star author for me. She's either like 3.5 stars or she's 5 stars. There's no in between, but this was like a really good happy medium, and I really enjoyed these books. I haven't really thought about them too much. I think about Kirill more than I think about Sasha, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't thought about them too much, but then I did read this ages ago now, like over a month ago when I finished these books, as we're now already a week into August. So really enjoyed these, and all in all, it was a really good reading month. I feel like there was a lot of books in here that I kind of ticked off. I think the Sheridan Ann books, Lessons in Corruption, and the Rena Kent books are books that I have actually been like umming and ahhing over all year. I don't know where Hades came from, but honestly that was best. That's the best thing I'd read all month. It was so good. But I am waiting on having a 5-star read. I can't remember the last time I rated a book 5 stars. I've had 2 4.75s in the last couple of months, but I haven't rated a book 5 stars, maybe since City of Gods and Monsters. Or have I done that? It's been a really long time, and I really am looking for a 5-star read. So I'm just reading fantasy in August, and I'm really hoping that one of those books is going to be 5 stars, because it's been a really long time. I'm not doing well for 5-star reads this year. I think I've only rated 6 books 5 stars, and as of today I've read 68 books. So that's not very good. But yeah, that's the 12 books I read. I don't think I'm going to read that many books in August, I'm going to be honest. I am also moving at the end of the month, so it's going to be, I've got some busy weekends moving, but then once I'm in the new house, all I'm going to do is read, just read, and it's going to be autumn. I'm so excited for autumn. It's my favourite time of the year to read, and it's going to be autumn. I'm going to be at my new house, and everything's going to be cosy. I'm going to have my new book room, and it's going to be really exciting, and I think the obsession is just going to really kick in just a hell of a lot more once I finally have like a library room back and like a cosy space. So I'm excited for that. But anyway, so that's all the books that I read in July. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming content, and I'll see you guys in my next one.